Hey, what's up, yo? It's Eyes Up Here. It's Monday. Let's get wild. If you didn't know by now, my name is Chad. Sorry, there's a lawnmower 8 centimeters away from me here outside my door.
Always blaming other things when you mess up. Take the heat and move on. Say you're sorry, accept the defeat, and move on.
If you didn't know by now, my name is Chad, and every single week I'm joined here by the glitzy and glamorous queen of extreme. Looking very nice.
I'm a disco ball today.
Yes, you are. Of course. This is Francine. This is your show, Eyes Up Here. Welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here, and yeah, happy to be here. Happy I'm not working for a major company right now. That's all I have to say.
Why not? Would you fear for job security? Because you could literally be a top star now and get released like kind of out of the blue.
We're starting hot today. This made me almost fall off my chair this week. These releases. Now, some of them I was just like, okay, I don't watch the product. I'm familiar with most of the names on this list, right? I don't watch the product, so I don't really know what's going on. But I do know that we talked about last week the promos that were put out for the return of house shows. And one of the major players with these promos was Braun Strowman.
First guy in the promo.
Telling us to get these hands on tour for the house shows. He's released.
He's gone.
The biggest star, I would say, in this list of cuts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, I was saying to my husband, I was just like, where is the logic to this? And, he turned around and he said, well, he was getting paid like $1 million. I think his contract was like $1 million or something like that. Maybe more with merch added in or whatever. But he's a draw, right?
Yeah, well, presumably one of the only ones that they have.
So why on earth, unless there's something we don't know, why release the guy? I know he's expensive, but if he's bringing in money, why release him?
Two theories that are kind of bandied about. Now, I've talked to some people who were kind of close to the situation on the
insiders
on the talent booking end of things. And my first question was, it had to be, this is exactly what I thought. It had to be his contract is due. He was going to want more money. They're cutting their losses. Okay. I was told that's not the case. He had just re-signed about a year ago. So this was a complete, it looks like, wiping of the contract off the books, which has been bandied about with this talk of a WWE sale that we've been joking about. But when they wipe off a top guy who's making 7 figures, that's really like shocking because the money they could have made off of him that now is gone and off the books.
So do you think he was blindsided or do you think he knew? Because I feel like when this happens, everybody's on edge, right? Because nobody knows they're pulling names out of their ass. Like things you would never think would happen or anybody is replaceable. I've said that so many times. It doesn't matter if you're on top, if you're scraping the bottom, whatever. Do you think he had a heads up?
Yes, I think he did.
You do?
I think he was the only one on the list who did, because Aleister Black, who, didn't have a top spot, but he was a very, I would say, popular character who had been on and off TV, was just in a storyline they kicked off for the Intercontinental title on SmackDown 2 Fridays ago.
Yeah.
Vignettes building it up for 6 months and gone. He said he was blindsided.
Okay. Lana.
I'm going to guess that one was probably in the works for a while.
Maybe it was in the works, but did she know? Because now again, I don't watch, but I've read articles preparing for this day. Her and Naomi, new tag team, new outfits, the whole 9 yards, fighting for the belts and stuff. And now she's gone. Now, do you think that has something to do with her husband being in AEW?
Yes.
You do?
I think that's been the case for a while. I think that they were just looking for the right time to let that contract go. Now, again, when were they due? That's the first thing I look at. When were they due? Were they like Braun? Did they re-sign a year ago for X amount of years?
Yeah.
I think the thing with Rusev or Miro, I think that was like kind of after he was gone, they buried her on TV.
Oh, she was going through a table every single week, the poor girl.
Buried her. And I think that built to now. It might have just been they realized they didn't release her before. That's why.
Oh, man. You give, you do whatever you're told to do, and I would assume she was just keeping her mouth shut and not complaining about it because obviously, you know, she knew with her husband being gone, there might be a little heat there.
Yeah.
And so you do what you're told to do and then you get released. It's like, come on. Do they have an ounce of remorse for this day? Do they care?
I don't think they care.
Oh man,
I really don't think they care.
Again,
I'm sorry, for Braun, I really think that it's probably the most shocking release that they have had since probably Kurt Angle. And that was like 15 years ago. But Kurt Angle was at least because there was reasons. They had substance abuse issues that they were not wanting basically anything to happen on their watch.
Sure.
That was probably the most shocking release. And that was 15 years ago. So that's a biggie, you know, to lose like that. And you know he's going to AEW. I mean, come on. I mean, they'd scoop him up in 8 seconds.
Well, Mark Henry showing up was a nice little surprise. There's a guy that was an advocate for WWE for forever. And, you know, now he's on a different program. And it's kind of like, you know, where's your loyalty? I'm reading. And has nothing to do with loyalty. No, it's about taking care of your family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
there are those who believe that if the rumors of the sale are true, a guy like Mark Henry is going to be told, hey, we're not going to use you. Go someplace else if you can. And that's why it's so shocking that they just put him in the Hall of Fame. He's on TV all the time as an ambassador. And it's like, hey, buddy, you know, just so you know, you might want to go explore someplace else. But now, just sidebar, we know AEW's got a lot of money, right? Yeah. I got to be honest with you. I think they look silly spending all the money they have on Mark Henry and the Big Show when now they're going to have 7 young, good talents to bring onto their roster. Where are they getting all this cash from?
Well, we don't. Maybe it's an unlimited bank account. We don't know what Tony Khan has in his pockets. He might have enough for everyone.
He might, but you know what I'm saying? It's like it's weird that you would bring them in so high profile. These agents or announcers or whatever he's doing with them. And now you've got legit talent because Braun's going to want some money. He's not going to just take $500,000 to come in. He's going to be 7 figures plus.
Here's my thing, and I could be 100% wrong, but this is the way that I would handle myself if I was in that position. So if I was in WWE and I was making a decent living, but was miserable, okay, my contract was coming up and they released me. Right? Or my contract was coming up and they asked me to resign and I'm unhappy. I would gladly take a pay cut to go to a company that I felt comfortable in, that would use me correctly, that, I had friends in, that I know would be good to me. I would be okay with a pay cut. Now, I wouldn't go for like a poverty check, for next to nothing, but I'm one of those people. I've said it before. I stayed in ECW. The pay was nowhere near what the other 2 promotions were offering at the time. Right. But I loved it there. I was comfortable there. I was the big fish in the small pond, so to speak. That was my home, and that's where I would have been forever. I would have never left. So money sometimes isn't everything to certain people, especially to the guys who have managed their money correctly and saved a lot of it. You know, now you're older, your body hurts, you're looking for a lighter schedule, which AEW does have a lighter schedule right now. Maybe a pay cut isn't such a bad idea.
Because how true of a pay cut is it when you factor in all these outcomes?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're not going to go in for next to nothing. Right. But if you could still provide for your family, have a lighter schedule, be used properly, and be happy, give it to me. I would definitely take that over making $1 million and being miserable.
Right, because now you got your cameo back. Now you got your outside.
You have everything. You can do whatever you want, and you can make that money that you're losing on the side however you want, because they're not limiting you to anything right now.
Exactly. Whereas they just did. They cut everybody from those third-party social media, money makers.
Everybody is miserable.
Free advice. Look at that from a vet. This is great.
For me personally, I want to be happy, especially in my older age. You know what I mean? Like, who wants bullshit? Who wants to be under stress? We have enough stress in our life You know, you don't want stress at home and at work. You want to try to lighten the load a little bit. So
yeah.
For me, I would gladly leave and go somewhere else for less money, but be happy. Be happy. Let them hear my voice, use me correctly. I'd be all over that. So maybe a guy like Braun takes this the way I do. Maybe he says, well, hey, you know, I'm only on the road a couple days every 2 weeks, because that's what they're doing right now. They're you know, doing 2 weeks, and then the next week is, I believe, it's taped. So they're only on the road a couple days a week, and then the next week they stay home. You have such an opportunity to do whatever you want and make that money from your house, or do appearances, or spend the time with your family. Take some time off, rest your body up.
Yeah.
So there are so many other options out there besides WWE.
No, you're right. You're right. And it's funny because 10 years ago, those options were out there too, but they were a lot smaller. There wasn't that opportunity to make this exorbitant amount of money back that you're losing. And now, you know, with how some of the, you put the effort into your cameos. There's guys who lay on their bed and do them.
I know.
And I like Braun Strowman could be sitting on a toilet and doing, you know, hand over fist money in cameo.
Yeah.
And it's you're right. Now, there have been guys that have gone to AEW for less, and that's well documented. The Revival said that they were taking a pay cut to go to AEW.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they're much happier.
I'm sure they are.
Less stress in their life. I mean, that's, to me, that mental health is so important. You know what I mean? Like,
especially now.
Yeah, like I can't even tell you the stress that I was under the short time that I worked there. I was worried about everything. And it was like, you know, I dreaded going to work. It was not a fun experience. I was simply there for the paycheck, because it wasn't something that I looked forward to. Whereas ECW, I didn't mind to get on a 6 a.m. flight. I couldn't wait till the weekend. Like, I was packed 2 days before and ready to go and out the door. It was just, for me, it was just apples and oranges. It was a different atmosphere. And if you cannot enjoy what you're doing, then you need to change your profession. And I know that's not that easy for a lot of people, but mentally it will break you down. So right now is the happiest, you know, besides ECW, obviously, but this is the happiest I've ever been. And it's because I'm doing what I want to do when I want to do it. And these people who are leaving that controlled environment and coming over, hopefully, to, you know, a lesser of the two evils, let's say, where they have a little more freedom. They can do what they want. So
it's unbelievable. Now, just on the Revival, Jim Cornette feels they ruined their careers going to AEW because they're doing a lot of the comedy stuff. They're not doing the serious wrestling that they were portraying themselves to be. So they took less money to be happy, but Jim Cornette feels they're losing their credibility.
Are the fans into it? If the fans are into what they're doing, I mean, who cares?
Well, you're a fan of the Gaga. This past week, they had Gaga Mania with this last pay-per-view. They did another one of those stadium matches that they did last year, and I love
that.
Yeah, it's just comedy left and right. It's not good comedy; it's comedy, but you'll probably pop at it. It's something that, again, fan of the Gaga, you'll like.
Here's the thing: we know they can work. We know they can wrestle. We've seen both sides of them. So a little Gaga never hurt anyone. They could always come back and get pissed off and do a straight match. I mean, it's not like they're locked into the comedy thing forever. It just shows that they have
range.
Sides. Yeah, there's different sides to them.
What if I go like this now? What if I start standing like this? Hold on. What if I start standing like this when I talk to you?
You look like a bouncer right now.
I did. Have you seen
biceps up a little more?
Have you seen it? I wish I didn't have to push them up, but you know. My perfectly rated shirt. The Tony Khan promos promoting a lot of the stuff. Have you seen these?
I've seen maybe one or two.
There's a picture going around where he's pushing his arms up like this, but it's backstage at it took 4 days of shoots to film this match.
Huh?
Okay. Wow. And there's a picture of Tony Khan, Jericho, MJF, who were competing, and the coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, where they filmed a piece in his office, and they're all standing watching a monitor, and this picture was released. That's the kind of stuff where the Gaga people lose it, because it's like, it's so coordinated. It's like you're watching a movie now. And are you watching wrestling, or are you watching a movie? It's one of those things where you can appreciate the laugh, but I think in terms of the wrestling fan, it loses people.
I just feel like you have to listen to what the fans say, right? If the fans are giving them positive input and the numbers are up, you're doing something correct. It's not for everyone. Listen, you can sit down and watch a show one week and you can absolutely love it. And then you can watch the same show the next week and despise it. It comes down to the writers and what they make the talent do, right? I feel like Gaga's okay. It shouldn't be in every single match, obviously. There shouldn't be a million promos where everybody's talking. There shouldn't be 87 factions where everybody comes out with 5 people in a group. You know, that's my personal preference. But if the demographic likes what they're saying and it's working, they're going to run with it. So, you know, you got to pay attention to what the fans want. And the WWE always talks about WWE Universe and da-da-da-da-da. And it just seems to me like everything I read is mostly negative.
Yeah, it's the shit universe. Everybody's shitting on it.
I don't understand if they're so gung-ho about listening to the WWE Universe, why isn't there a change? You know? They're stuck somewhere. They're just stuck in this universe that nobody cares about.
I'll tell you one thing that wasn't released that is rumored about, and this is another reason why they might be selling. Apparently, Shane McMahon is gone again from the company,
and he's my favorite McMahon.
And he seems to be the first one who, when the going gets tough, he's gone.
He's my favorite. Did he go back to where was he? Japan?
He was in like China or something, building.
Don't go to China, please. Stay away from China.
It was either Japan or China. He built the pay-per-view structure for the country, like whatever the main paper. Yeah, I mean, if anybody knows pay-per-view, it's the McMahons.
Yeah,
and he's apparently gone, but that has not been released to the public. So,
well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, I hope I'm not talking out of school. I mean, I hear a lot of stuff during the week, and sometimes I don't remember if I was supposed to keep it in or keep it out.
The views expressed right now on Eyes Up Here are from the Chadster and not Francine. Thank
you. Now, before we get into some questions, we're going to do some Ask Francine Almost Anything here.
Oh, boy.
I have all the questions now.
Yeah.
Which I like.
Yeah, great.
I want to ask you about the Friends reunion in a minute, but I just want to mention first, and you talk about you're so happy doing everything that you're doing, you know, and the most fun you've had since ECW.
Yeah.
I can tell you, a person who attended the Squared Circle Expo was very happy to see the crowd you had gathered and how you were busy the whole time, and they could barely come over to say hi to you because you were so busy. And then they said that's because she is, and this is a quote, she is ECW.
Oh, well, I don't, can you say who said that so I can thank them?
It was a big vampiric friend of mine. It was very menacing, and he used to have like fangs in his mouth.
Oh, can I say something?
Yeah.
I love you, Kevin. Thank you. It was so good to see you.
I'm making a note. Remind me to tell you something later. I'm writing it down.
Make a note because we never remember.
I know. I'm writing it down.
It felt so good, you know, to see Kevin, obviously, but to see the fans. I love, like I said, I love being at home, but when I do have to go out and do these shows, I just love meeting everyone. It's genuine and it's real for me. And it just makes me so happy that people still care about me and care about ECW. So I appreciate everyone who comes over to say hi. So thank you, Kevin, for those nice words.
I think I made up the word vampiric. Just
well, that's a good one. That sounded pretty.
I know. I like it. I think I might have made it up. All right. So the Friends reunion. It was last Friday, I think, right? How was it?
I was super excited about it. Like when I saw the trailer, I was super duper excited. Shelly Martinez posted something and tagged me in it, and that's how I found out about it. And I had goosebumps and cried almost through the whole thing. How much of a nerd am I? It was that good. to me.
If you're a fan, you're not. It's not nerdy. If you're a fan, you're passionate.
I was a huge fan of Friends. I loved the show. I remember crying like a baby when Monica proposed to Chandler. There are just certain things that are in my head that I could relate with. Being a 20-something-year-old or however old I don't even know what year it was, but I think it was well done. I think, like they said, there were a lot of people that they wanted to have on the show because they only had a handful of, people come back besides the 6 regulars. There were some people that were missed. But overall, just seeing them all together. And the best part of the whole reunion that I did not know about was that Jennifer Aniston and David Schwimmer liked each other, but never crossed the line.
Interesting.
And they had footage of them flirting, like when the scene stopped and they were just waiting for the next scene. And I love that. I told you, I love that backstage taboo stuff that you're not supposed to see. And they showed it, and they were so young, so cute with the flirting. Like my heart was just like, I wanted them to get married when I watched the show. And now knowing that they really liked each other and they never acted on it, I was like, man, she could have avoided 2 bad marriages and been with David Schwimmer. Maybe they would have been together forever. But I loved it.
That's got to be so tough to be in a situation like that where you have to be in love with the person on television, have an attraction to them off screen, and the only time you can get it on is just the kissing on the in the scene.
It happens with a lot of people, Chad.
I wasn't specifically stating. I was just saying it in terms of this sitcom we're talking about.
I can relate.
No other world.
I can relate, and that's all I'm going to say. But yeah, it was good. It was very, very well done, very cute, and I enjoyed it. And if you're a Friends fan, you need to watch it. It was a lot of fun.
Those are questions I have never asked you in our 2 years of being together on the air, of anything having to do with your personal life and relationships. I've never asked you about that. I'm saving that for our car ride in August.
Oh, great. Okay.
I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
Yeah. We should film our car ride and use it as an extra.
That would be pretty funny. Let's
do that.
Parts of it.
Well, you have the opportunity to edit. So
yes, I do. That's very true. I did just about your friends. I caught some of it in whatever clips were floating around just to see, what it was. It's not my show. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I'm glad you got a nice little cry.
I did. I did. My kids were like, "Are you okay, Mom?" I'm like, "It's fine." Good stuff.
Very nice. All right, so we're gonna do a little Ask Francine Almost Anything. Questions submitted via Facebook this time.
Okay.
In a really cool Facebook group called Strictly Extreme, where what do you think that the topic is here?
ECW.
It's ECW. Now, I want to piggyback on the Facebook group. I am now a part of the foreverfan.club ECW Facebook group, which I'm not going to lie, could be now the most hopping thing on my timeline, as every 2 seconds there are fans commenting memories, sharing memorabilia, showing stuff. It is some of the coolest stuff. And if this is any indication of this project, this is the endorsement, is for people to go to Facebook, foreverfan.club, the group. It is off the chain. And now you can see the Chadster in there too.
Yeah. Well, I'm not in there because I don't do Facebook, but that's fun. I'm glad that it's getting some buzz, and Facebook seems to be where it's at. I'm going to have to make a profile and get on there. I'll be the one with no friends just coming on to say hello.
Can you just have Tom, the MySpace guy, as your profile picture?
Tom. That's all.
Remember him? He was everybody's MySpace friend.
Yeah, he was number 1 on my list, but then I moved him to number 8 because I had other people that were more important than Tom.
I loved MySpace.
Yeah, I thought MySpace was a good time.
In the party days in the mid 2000s, okay, it was all about MySpace, and literally your top 8 could fluctuate with who you were with on a Friday or Saturday night. Okay,
and you got to play music in you log on and a song would pop on. Yeah. And it was fun.
Very quickly, and I have the questions here. I logged into my MySpace account for the first time maybe like 3 years ago. It was still there.
It's still there?
If you could find out whatever your login information was, the email address I had on file, I don't even use anymore.
Oh.
I wanted to get in for one reason. It had a picture I took of Hulk Hogan on it. It was like on my wall, right? But I took it at a signing of Hogan walking right by me. And it was like, I did like one of these, like really cool. Yeah, with the phone. It was with a disposable camera. And it was on my MySpace page. I was able to pull it off, but there's nothing else left of the original MySpace.
Oh, yeah. I haven't been on there in ages. I don't even know how to log on. I wouldn't even know my info. But MySpace was a good, MySpace was like the first internet thing I think I joined.
Oh, cool.
I think it was, because there wasn't anything else going on at the time, I don't think, right?
Nothing like that. You either talk to somebody on, AOL chat, or that was really it.
That stuff. Yeah.
I remember when I got text messaging in 2002, literally the only people who had it were me, Liz, and John from Two Man Power Trip. We were the only ones who had text messages, and you had to pay like 50 cents a text.
Yeah. That's right. You did have to. Yeah, because I remember when I first started dating my husband and we were texting all the time, and my bill was like $200 for text messaging. And now we have an unlimited.
Can you imagine that? And then when they went to unlimited, it was like $100 or something. You're like,
he's lucky he married me, because I'd be pissed if I spent $200 on a dude that I didn't end up with.
Some guy, you just be complaining about it in your current life. Be like, I used to pay all this money to talk to this guy.
$200. Come on.
All right, here we go. So from the Strictly Extreme Facebook group, the first question was, because I introduced myself as a co-host of Francine and Shane Douglas podcast. Okay. And the first question for Francine was, when Shane Douglas threw down the NWA title, whose idea was it for him to say, "You could all kiss my ass"?
I'm sure it was Shane's. You would have to ask him, but I'm sure it was Shane Douglas. It
absolutely was. But I just thought that was funny. Like, you got to read what it said. It said for Francine.
Oh, that's okay.
All right. This person wants to know, would you like me to give
names?
I can say names.
Yeah, give them shout outs.
Okay, sure. Appreciate it. Jake Crockett wants to know, what was the highest peak moment of you and Shane's run together? It would be interesting to hear whether their answers differ. So they would want both of you to answer, but you go ahead and do it.
The highest peak moment. Well, I feel like we had the most heat with the Gary angle. I feel like it was the Pitbull thing with the broken neck. Geez. I mean, I believe I was with Shane for about 3.5 years. I think that's how long the run was before he left to go to WCW. And I still think that if he would have stayed, we would have never separated. I just feel like we were that good together. To my own horn toot. But we were a good team. We were really good together. So I feel like we drew heat the whole time. But I think the pinnacle, and it was early on, was the stuff with Gary. Because we were getting beat up every week.
It seems like it. And kind of watching that stuff back, I'm almost watching it in real time, just going through clips of watching basically from the week it happened. And then it's like, I don't know, that night could be the high point for you guys, because that was insane.
That was crazy. Yeah, that was crazy. And I wonder, if we were in a bigger building, would it have been different? You know what I mean? Because the arena is tight, and there was about maybe 1,500 people there or so. I wonder if we were in 4,000 or 5,000 seat arena, 6,000, whatever, if it would have been different. But maybe just more people jumping the guardrail. I don't know.
Now, you don't think that at some point, let's just say Shane stayed all the way to 2001, never left.
Yeah.
You don't think at some point there would have been a call for Shane to be a babyface with you being a heel, like you turning on him or him getting frustrated with you, you cost him a win or something, and the money being you guys separated, but then getting back together a la Macho Man and Elizabeth? I think that it would have actually been better if you guys were still in the same company, separated, and then came back.
Could have been. I mean, I just feel like if it ain't broke.
Oh, I agree with that too.
Yeah, we could have did a lot of cool stuff. Either way. But I just feel like him and I were a money duo. So, I was heartbroken when he left. I really was. I wanted him to stay. Understood why he left, obviously, but it is what it is.
Come see, come saw. All right. How about this one? Daryl Patterson said, much respect for all your work that you put in ECW, especially your willingness to take crazy bumps. He wants to know, what is a moment that has you saying to yourself, wow, that was awesome?
Wow. That was awesome. I think I have to always go back to the night that I turned on the Pipples and went and joined, Shane, going through the table. I honestly feel like that was the moment where the boys respected me. And the fans were like, oh my gosh, because now I'm told, I don't know if it's true, but I'm told I was the first girl, at least in the States, to go through a table. And I don't think anybody really expected it to happen. And I think it was one of those like, holy shit moments. She's dead. You know what I mean? And for me, I think that just elevated me to another level that night, where that people were just like, yeah, she's here to work. She's not here to just hang out. She's here to work. And, every single week, I just tried to put the work in.
And you look back and you say, wow, this was awesome.
That was an awesome night for me. It just, when I walked through the back, everybody was giving us a standing ovation. I know it was just not for me, but usually people would clap. People got out of their chairs, and even the guys that were eliminated early, like Jericho and Scorpio, everybody was just standing there clapping, and people were hugging me and telling me how well I did. And it just made me feel so happy and so good. So, yeah, I like that night a lot.
Were you afraid? I know this might have been really hard. Were you afraid that the pants or the skirt might come down and people could see the franchise written on your foot? You weren't afraid of that at all? All right. Just somebody grabbed it by accident and boom, went down.
That didn't cross my mind. I was afraid of getting hurt. I was afraid of hitting my head on the lip of the table or something happening or hard weighing. That's what I was afraid of. I didn't even think twice about the underwear.
Underwear? Is it gone? Is it long gone?
I sold it.
Oh boy, that's gotta be in a museum somewhere.
I don't know where it is.
Hopefully nobody's wearing it. Let's just leave it at that.
They're probably wearing it on their head for all I know. They're using it as a Corona mask.
Very nice. Daryl Patterson also wants to know, with Shane being the hometown kid, was it difficult to manage him in Pittsburgh?
No, it was easy in Pittsburgh because we were always babyface in Pittsburgh. And that's the only time that Shane and I kind of disagreed. I liked the people loving us, but in the same aspect, I was like, but we're heels. It would be kind of cool to walk in your hometown and be despised. I don't know, that's the way I thought anyway, but he has his opinion and I respect it.
The old Rick Rude. If you can't get booed in your hometown, you're a shitty heel, and he took exception to that big time.
I would not call him a shitty heel, but I just think it would have been cool to go in as baby faces and then have him cut this hellacious promo and have every single person boo us out of the building. I thought that would have been fantastic for TV, but he liked to be loved in Pittsburgh, so I just went along with it.
Can't even walk the streets in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Beaver County.
All right, how about this one? Ronan Margolin says, what's up, guys? Huge fan of ECW since 96.
All right.
First of all, glad you two squashed your beef, you and Shane.
Mm-hmm.
When did you two figure out you were a good fit? Right away, or was it a process?
I think it was right away. I think we clicked right away. It comes down to that story where he remembers this and I don't, but he always says that he was helping me with a promo when he came back and he wasn't even working yet. And Paul saw us conversing in the corner and a twinkle was in his eye and he thought, wow, this is the new dynamic duo of the company. And we just clicked right away. And I didn't know anything about Shane. I didn't know his work. I wasn't a fan. I wasn't privy to what he had done. I had to go home and look up stuff, and study, which I did. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, I could work with this.
You are a student of the game for doing something
you
like
have
that.
to.
That's what it's all about.
You have to better yourself.
How about this one? Mark Fioretti doesn't have a question, but he just says he just subscribed to your Twitch channel.
Ooh,
and is now going to join Patreon. Can't wait.
Woo! Get it, Mark. Well, we haven't heard from you yet, Mark, but we're waiting. Come on over, babe.
He wrote this an hour ago, so we'll give him a few minutes.
Oh,
Maybe a reload of email, perhaps. Come on,
awesome.
Mark. The clock is ticking.
Tick-tock, tick-tock. Let's go, Mark.
This is a good question. I'm not sure if we've answered it in this format. I think we've mentioned it in casual passing. What is your favorite version of the Triple Threat?
Well, geez. I have to go with Shane Bam Bam Candido. I love Brian Lee to death. Love Brian Lee. And I thought Malenko Benoit was cool, but getting to work, I obviously didn't work with the earlier version, but I've worked with several, and I love Lance Storm. He's a great guy. But to me, Bam Bam and Chris with us was just the best, the most fun, the best angles. That's my opinion.
Could you have seen yourself with the original Triple Threat with the Shane, Malenko, Benoit?
Yeah, I could. But see, that version, like, to me, they were all straight men.
Right.
So it was kind of like, I like the diversity of having Chris be the kind of silly, but still be like technically able to kick somebody's ass because he was just a great worker, well-rounded. I feel like that earlier version was so serious. Maybe they didn't need me. I don't know. Like I feel like I could have worked with them, but it just, I don't know if it would have been as fun.
Right.
And nothing against any of them because they're all phenomenal workers. But the dynamic would have been different.
Yeah, the group evolved. I mean, it really was the shooter, the technical wrestler, and Shane, who could really be a little bit of everything. They were a very serious wrestling crew, whereas you guys were like a gang. You saw one, you got them all kind of thing. And that's what I loved about the Triple Threat it was guys that had each other's back. This one, it was like three guys, mad as hell against the world. They were had a very serious demeanor to them. It's interesting that they didn't have a manager, but it's funny, would Francine have crossed over well with them? I guess that's one of those ultimate fantasy booking questions.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much of a role I would have got to play. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Would I have been like a Miss Liz who didn't get to talk at all and just stood there and did nothing? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah,
because it's weird because Shane, obviously was with Sherry for a while, but Sherry was gone by the time the Triple Threat was formed. So I wonder if they kept them together. Would Sherry have been with them? But did they need it for, again, there being just a serious group of wrestlers rather than a gang of guys that were all, friends?
Yeah. Yeah, and they weren't together very long.
No, it was really a handful of shows.
Yeah. So we don't know what could have been, but my favorite is definitely Bam Bam, Chris, and Shane.
Yeah, Shane always says there's only two pictures of them together.
Benoit and
Malenko and Shane. One in a locker room and one they're outside, and they're in there, of course, outside the arena, best fanny packs and Zubas and all.
Lovely.
So it's a time capsule in terms of the pictures taken.
Yeah.
That was asked by Joseph Ryan the Ninth.
The ninth.
Wow,
that's a big family.
Joseph Ryan the Eighth didn't want any part of it.
Yeah, he's not around for that. That's okay.
This one is Dominic Borgia. He would like to know, where were the craziest fans?
Well, I'd have to say Philly, obviously. The arena was a bit crazy. The Madhouse of Extreme in New York, they got a little crazy at times. Anywhere that a fight broke out, which was most cities. Riots did ensue. And for the most part, fans, you know, were respectful. But again, there were those overzealous ones who couldn't keep their hands to themselves and just, you know, they thought it was real. It was real to them, damn it. And they just had to spit or punch or attack us. And, you know, that's crossing the line, bro. That's a little too much. I don't know. Call me anything.
In the comments, they said, without a doubt, Philly. People were saying New York. But Dominic actually replied to somebody and said he figured that was the answer with Philly, but you never know. The War Memorial in Florida was pretty nuts.
But I don't remember anything ever like crazy happening there. They were a good group.
Like a raucous crowd.
Yeah, like they were rowdy and they were into the product. And I remember I liked working there. I liked that building. That was Fort Lauderdale, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We would go there early and stay late. You know what I mean? We would like stay extra days to go to the beach and go to the clubs. And we would make that a vacation every time that we went there. But yeah, if I had to choose, I think Philly and New York topped the list for me. So
yeah, it was. I think that was also the venue where the ring came down, if I'm mistaken. The War Memorial in Florida. You ever see that? I think you had to be, either you weren't on the road yet. It was the one clip where the ring comes down. It was all the fans inside of it. Everybody was jumping.
I thought that was in Philly.
Oh, I thought that was in Florida.
No, I think that was at the arena.
Really?
Is that when Public Enemy were in the ring?
I don't remember who was in the ring. I just remember it was darker. That's why I didn't think it was the arena. It was like a little the Florida one, wasn't it like a little bit of a darker venue?
Florida had a stage. Where we came out and they had the two sides were on the floor and then the back went up with bleachers. I think. I know there was a stage, but I don't remember the Florida building, the thing collapsing there. I know it did in Philly at the arena.
I gotta go back and look that up.
Okay.
I mean, I know the chair incident was in Philly.
Yeah.
With Terry Funk and Cactus Jack, when Terry Funk is waving his arms in and then gets hit in the head with the chair and goes down.
I want to say it was Philadelphia where Public Enemy was in the ring and it goes to one side and then everything falls.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. God, ECW was awesome. God, man, I saw two other chair throwing incidents similar to kind of copy off of that. One was in the ECW arena.
Okay.
It was a TNA house show.
Oh.
Main event was the Dudleys, Team 3D, against the New Age Outlaws. So on paper, that's a pretty damn good main event.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, fans decided to throw chairs in the ring, and Road Dogg, Brian James, gets on the mic and just goes off. He goes, "You motherfuckers just ruined a goddamn good finish." Threw down the mic and walked out of the ring.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how the show ended.
Oh, that's a bummer.
It was crazy. That was famously, I got hit in the balls by Billy Gunn during that show.
You did?
Yes, they were brawling outside the ring.
Roughly.
And I got hit by Bubba. Billy knocked Bubba down. Bubba goes back like this.
Nuts.
And I'm sure he probably saw somebody standing there and did one of those. Hit right in the balls. And then the other one was an ROH show that did the same thing with the chairs.
Oh, okay.
ECW copycats all
Good
around.
Yeah,
before I get to the questions, I got to mention this. Did you hear Mark Shapiro, who we mentioned last week in our watch long? Do you recall? We saw him. He was with you guys. He died.
Oh, he did?
In the past week.
He did?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sad now.
Can you believe that we just saw, and it was a whole thing, Shane brings him in front of the camera and says,
see that he passed away.
Heard it through the grapevine.
Oh.
I couldn't find anything about it online, but I heard through the grapevine he passed away this week. We just talked, I don't know of what, but we just talked about him.
Weird. Oh, I feel bad now.
R.I.P.
Yeah, really. He was a very nice man.
Go watch our watch along. Louis Spicolli versus Shane from September 17th, 96. Yeah. Shane brings him literally in front of the camera, says if anybody touches her, he brings them in the back and I'll kick their ass.
Oh.
Because you were getting grabbed. we saw that.
I know. Yeah. Oh, poor guy.
I'm going to ask one more before we move over to the rest of these on Patreon.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to save that one. I'm going to go back to that. That's going to be a good one to start it with. We'll close it with this one. I've heard some tales about how much of an asshole Raven was. What's your take?
Wow. He could be, for sure. I think everybody has probably had their ups and downs with Scotty. Right now we're cool. And I have to say that he does have a great mind for the business. I feel like the Raven character, I don't know if he came up with it or Paul came up with it or whatever, but I just think that it elevated him, because he was doing the Scotty the Body or Johnny Polo, all that, he came in from WWF fresh off that character, and to see him like in this grunge, it was cool and it was relatable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, if somebody says to me, do you like Scott Levy? I'd say, yeah, I like Scott Levy. But definitely butted heads a couple times, and I've seen him butt heads with a lot of people. So,
there's a lot of said with interviews, right? Obviously, you guys were very close. Everybody in ECW shared the locker rooms, the roads, the whole 9 yards. The shoot interviews, the podcast interviews, the write-up interviews, magazines, all that stuff. Do more problems, and this is not, talking about Raven specifically, this is everybody. Do more problems come out of those interviews with other things being said than actually things that happen in the locker room?
I feel like, and I've said this before, I feel like these shoot interviews, people say things that they hear and they feel is the truth. And a lot of times it's not. And back in the day, again, let's talk about the Rats. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. And people say things, and people have said stuff about me that isn't true. And it hurts my feelings, and I call them on it. Scotty did in an interview. I called him on it. We talked it out. I was furious. Sandman did in an interview, called him on it, talked about it. He was wrong. He admitted he was wrong. But now it's there for all to, see for the rest of eternity. I just feel like there are certain topics that should not be discussed. Private things that, happen behind the scenes. It's really nobody's business, but I'm going to say it because I'm going to get over because, I did this and I did that. Just keep your mouth shut. Especially now you're in your 50s, get over it. That's the way I look at it. I just feel like guys should have more respect for the females in the business.
Yeah, we've talked about that many, many times.
Yep.
And you know what also is funny about that? And like you said, anything you talk to Raven directly, you talk to Sandman directly, people who just stumble onto clips that are 15 years old are hearing that, and then they go, oh, I heard Raven say that, so that's got to be
it's gospel.
And that's it. And now, even some of the Feinstein's shoot interviews are 20 plus years old.
Yeah.
And whereas some of them are great time capsules because some of the guys are gone, the stories will live on forever. Other things, if they say something in passing, it's now in stone. And that if they're alive and you're there, if somebody says, oh yeah, I didn't like Francine, and they go, oh, so-and-so doesn't like Francine, you guys could have talked out 150 times since then, but it lives in infamy. I always find that, it's almost, these are as much of a benefit as they are a detriment.
I was, when I did Hannibal's thing last week, I went back and I was reading some of the comments just to see, what people were saying about me or whatever. And one idiot was like, oh, she said she didn't sleep with Shane, so that means she did. And we all know that they were a couple. And I'm just like, no, you're wrong. I didn't answer him, obviously. But why is it like people say, oh, you're trying so hard to make us believe that you didn't. No, I'm just telling you that it's not true.
Right.
And all these guys who said in their shoot interviews that I was Shane's ride and Shane and I were sleeping together wasn't true. It wasn't a thing. And we both said this. If we were both single, maybe it would have happened, because there was an attraction there. I'm not going to lie, but we never crossed the line. It never happened. There was never a kiss outside of the ring, or a holding hands outside of walking to nothing like that ever happened. And I would take a lie detector test and I would swear on a stack of Bibles. It just didn't happen. So for people to throw that in my face and say, yeah, it did, you're just compensating, you're trying to make us. No, stop being an asshole. I'm just telling my story. Somebody asked it and I'm giving you my answer. Why don't people believe me? I'm the person that it happened to. How come nobody believes me? I don't understand.
Because so-and-so said it in an interview.
Yeah, well, so-and-so can kiss my ass because they're wrong.
Oh,
I just hate that people can say anything they want. Anything. This internet, the Wikipedia page, people add to it all the time. People writing on my wiki page. Some of that stuff on there is not even accurate. Not even true. But what gives people the right to just pull up and add their 2 cents to it? It infuriates me.
It should. It absolutely should. If it's not factual, it absolutely should. As Shane has said, they've added extra wives to his Wikipedia. He goes, I have trouble with one ex-wife. I don't need 2.
Exactly. I just feel like personal things should not be discussed. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Excuse me. We were on the road together 4 or 5 days a week. We had no social life. We would come home, do our laundry, say hi to our families, and then go back on the road. People are going to date. Things are going to happen. It's no one's business but our own. And for these guys to just sit down and talk about other people and make up shit, it bothers me. When they were not, there's 2 people in the bed, so to speak. Were you there? Were you sleeping with me? I was alone. Were you there? No, you weren't there. Shut your mouth.
We've talked about it many times, and it's never a dull topic because it could always be brought up again.
It makes me angry. All the time. Thanks for getting me riled up again.
But especially for that interview you did last week, what did that have to do with what you were being asked? That somebody speculates in the comments about something they know nothing about, and both parties have vehemently said, this is unfactual. This did not happen.
We're both lying.
You're both lying. As a friend of both of you, I can honestly say that it's the truth.
But both people are admitting there was an attraction. Something would have happened if one of us wasn't married, because I obviously was single at the time. We're both admitting that. We're both saying there was an attraction there, but we didn't do it. So how much more honest can you be? I'm not sitting there saying, oh, I thought he was an ugly dude and I didn't want to, blah, blah, blah. The thought never crossed my mind. No, I'm not saying that. We're being as honest as we can be about it. And still people do not believe us and they do not respect our answers. So I don't know what else to tell you. What more can I say, people?
I respect your answer.
I'm telling you, it's annoying to say the least.
But how could you resist the coif? His coif looks always so good.
Look, he was a very good looking man. He still is a nice looking man, but I'm an old married lady with children and, too little, too late, buddy.
And he's fighting road rage with blue-haired ladies on the streets of Pittsburgh.
He's getting punched by 90-year-old grandmothers. No, actually, Gary got punched, not him.
Oh my God.
Gary got punched by this old lady, and it was the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
He always says he hangs out more with 2 93-year-old people. It's Dominic and his neighbor. Oh, and his stepmother.
Oh yeah, when he goes this far.
So there you go.